We've already gone through preparation in InDesign, and we're now looking at the beginnings of iBooks Author, which starts off by asking me to choose a template. And I've already created a template called Shakespeare. So I'm just going to look at this template and explain to you how templates actually work. Now, templates work by providing layouts in various ways. So in this particular example, it's quite a simple one that I've done. I've got two different areas of the template. I've got the basic chapter, a heading, and then pages that will appear underneath this. And then I've also got the introduction, so-called, which is of course a little bit simpler because this is going to simply have my Life of Shakespeare. And then I've also got pages which are going to be used within these various sections. So, for example, this particular set of pages will be used in the play itself, whereas the introduction will simply use a very simple two-column layout. Now, InDesign, I beg your pardon, iBooks Author is generally speaking going to be a landscape view, although you will see later that we can talk about having a scrolling view as well to give us some accessibility. But this is essentially the template, so there's no content in here apart from these images. Like for example this one of Shakespeare's head is simply a placeholder, and I can change this. So what we first of all need to do then is to bring content in, and I'm going to insert a chapter from an InDesign file, IDML that is. I've gone into my extracted folder and I'm picking up the introduction. Now it's going to ask me certain things, what I want from this file. I want all of the paragraph and character styles and all of the media and the graphics. Now, where do I want to place it? In other words, which part of the template? Well, you can see if I scroll through, this gives me all the different types of content I have. I'm going to simply use the introduction and import that. We won't review the warnings. These will probably be relating to fonts that we don't have in our system, but we can easily resolve that later. Now, as you can see, it's added the content on to my existing placeholder content, and I can simply remove chapter 1 so that it turns chapter 2 into chapter 1 instead. And you can see that I've basically got the content here, and I've got the beginning of the chapter here. So the first thing I can do is to change what we've got here to Life of Shakespeare. And of course we need to expand this text box and also correct the spelling. Choose a different font. Just need to bring these things onto the screen. And increase the font size, and also increase the leading. We can come back to this later, of course. Okay. Now, if you look here, we see that we've actually got the basic content in, but the text is very, very small. If I select some of this text and then show the style drawer, let's just enlarge this up a little bit before we do anything else. Move this out of the way. Now, having selected that, you can see that I've actually got body text selected, but what I'm going to do is to change this text to be something slightly larger, and I'm going to do this through the fonts panel. So I'm increasing this. You can see over on the left hand side I also need to increase the heading, So if I've got, say, 16 point text, I want to increase the leading to something like around about 19 or 20. Let's say 16, 16 on 20 is what we're going to use. And now, having changed that, you'll see that this little arrow, down arrow, is red, and I'm going to redefine the style from that selection. I now need to do the same for this first paragraph, which, as you know, is slightly different. So let's just move this out of the way. So we have currently the first. We've selected the first paragraph, body text first, and I'm just going to put the same size on this. So I think we had 16 and we had 20 points for the leading. So I now will redefine the style from the selection. Okay, so we've now changed all of that. Let's just move this down to 75% so that you can see everything here. And we're now going to do the same for the heading. So in the heading we've got, we just have a look up here. With that selected, we have now the subhead selected, and I'm going to increase the font size for that. And I'm also going to, so that's going to be 24, and I'm going to increase the leading to 30. And now again, that turns red, so we're redefining the style for that. Okay, let's move some of these things out of the way. Oh, so you can now see that I've got the text laid out, you know, I'm gradually getting there. But what I might need to do now is to do something with this image. And I'm just going to increase the size of this image to fill the whole of the size of the frame, I should say, of the panel here. So selecting that object, we now need to just have a look also at the inspector for this, and you'll see over here that on this very final end panel here we have a widget inspector. And what I want to do is to say that this image, so I'm just selecting the image, I want this to be a widget rather than just an image that sits on the top. So what I have to do is to ungroup this, and now I'm going to say that this object here, I'm just going to put this over here for the moment because I don't want that to be showing. And I'm going to make this object into an interactive object, which means that it's going to go full screen when I click on it. Go to the layout again, and the image itself needs a caption. And that caption, of course, we've already got up here, so I'm simply going to copy that. And I'm going to paste that into here. We can also put it into the accessibility description. I'm going to remove the margin so that I don't have any margin, and once again I'm going to make sure that that fits exactly into the column. And we're going to move it down so that we, or possibly even up at the top. Okay, you get the idea. Now, we can obviously add more images, but there's just one thing here we might want to just have a quick look at. We've got here the remains from InDesign of our footnotes, which looks quite difficult to read at the moment. So I'm just going to enlarge that up a little bit. Okay, this is quite difficult to see at this scale. Okay, so what we need to do is to take this material out here. This is our footnote, and I'm going to just cut that out. Let's just get rid of those brackets there. Now what we need to do is decide which part of this text is the hypertext link to the glossary item. So I'm basically going to take this element here, go up to my glossary term, just need to do that again, right click over this and create a glossary term from the selection, double click on the item and now paste into there the glossary term. Okay, so that now becomes a hyperlink. Same thing here, we're going to take this item here, we'll make sure we take the whole thing, remove the brackets, turn this into the glossary item, I think I need to do it from that. Okay, take that selection, double click and paste the new glossary term in there. Okay, so that's how we take footnotes and turn them into glossaries. Obviously you are going to want to add glossary terms in any case, quite aside from what you've got in your InDesign document. Okay, now you can see we've also got quite a lot of empty pages, so we're going to delete these. And then of course we've got work to do in adding further images and various things like this, but we've got the content for the introduction into the into our iBooks program. So what we're going to do now then is to take the first couple of scenes into the play. Now the first thing that we have to do before we do this is you'll notice that this is our first chapter. What we're going to do now is we're going to add another chapter. So we do this through Insert, Pages, Chapter. This time we want the act rather than the introduction, and we're simply going to add one act. So we've now got an act there, and if you like, we can even title it Act 1. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our first scene into here. So we're going to insert chapters from InDesign file, and we're now looking for the IDML file pages 1 to 14. Now it's asking me obviously where I want to put this. Now I'm not going to put it directly into the act, I want to put it into the pages or the sections within the act, because this is effectively a section underneath the act. Again, I'm not going to review that. So now you can see, again, we've got the content in here. We've got you can look at the structure down on the left hand side. You can see how that's actually now working. There's quite a few things that are not quite right, but that's something that we can easily resolve. Let's just delete that superfluous text frame. Remove this, or move this object so that it's actually not cropping the image. So I'm just going to do that and put that object into the right place. Just center it for the moment. And once again, we can actually then go through and change the text. Now you can see if I, for example, if I select one of these lines here and we now have a look at the this, you'll see that we've actually got a verse line at the bottom here, and this is something that we want to change clearly. So I'm going to now go to my fonts, and I'm going to increase this. Let's say we have that at 12 point, and I'm going to change that to the leading to 16, let's say 15 point. And now, of course, we want to go back here and actually redefine the style from that selection. That's going to make a lot of changes, as you can see. And similarly, I'm going to take just a little portion, well, I'll just take the whole of Theseus there, and I'm going to change this. So again, we're going to increase this. Let's say we're going to take that up to 14 point with a leading of 15 point. And again, if we look here, you'll see over here that this is the character name, and I'm going to redefine the style from the selection. So all of those will have now changed. We've got other work to do here. We can do this for the location. Let's increase the font size here. And once again, the leading. Now the act is currently slightly in the wrong position. I think this is because we've got something underneath it. We've got a rule underneath it with an offset of 20 point. So we may not actually successfully do this. So I'm going to, for the moment, I'm going to make that none. Increase the size of the act. With a leading adjusted. And similarly, the scene. Sorry, I should have remembered. I've got to go back here, look at the act, and redefine the style from the selection. Similarly, the scene, increase the font size, possibly even change the colour if you like. 28. We're going to make this 28 on 30. And we're going to redefine the style from that selection. We need to go through and do this for all components that we want to change. And this time we're looking at the stage directions. Okay, so you get the idea here. We've actually now got the first scene in. There are going to be quite a lot of blank pages, as they usually are, because of the way that the text has come in. So we can actually just go through now and delete these pages. Don't worry, we'll add pages if we need them. Because as you can see, we are going to want to add further content in here, put some images in maybe, even increase the size if you like. Now we've made a few changes, and we've got the first scene in under the first act. Now we're still looking for another scene for this act. So what we're going to do now is to insert the next IDML file that we exported from InDesign. This is the one that's page 15 to 22. Now this dialog box, we've got to pay attention this time, because we are doing exactly the same thing, except the paragraph and character styles, we actually want to use the iBooks author style, so that we don't override the styles that we've just changed. And we're putting this again into the section template. So you can see now from the structure over on the left hand side, we've got the first scene and the second scene. At the moment it's simply called section, so I'm just going to change that name to scene. And you can see that we actually brought in some new styles this time. So for example, this style here, this is actually our prose style. So I'm going to make this the same that we have for our, the same size at least, for our, but it's going to be 16 on 20. I think I better just check that I'm doing this correctly. No, it's 14 on 20, sorry, so let's make sure we do this the same. 14 on 20, and once again, let's actually look at our styles drawer, and the prose needs to be changed to redefine style from that selection. So that should have all changed that. So we've now changed the prose. Now the other thing is that, if you remember, we've got an alternative scene style, because it's the second scene or the scene after the first scene. So I'm going to increase the size of that, and I'm also going to remove, under more, I'm going to remove this rule, and I'm also going to change the leading for this as well. This should be 30 point. This seems to be an error there, which I might as well correct while I'm about it. So this is our location, and of course I'm going to want to bring this picture into the right place here. Let's just ungroup this. Remove the caption and increase the size so that it fits into the frame. We're also going to make sure that this object will have some interaction and will go full screen when I click on it. Let's just call this Athens, and just make sure that it fits into that space there. Okay, there's a slight error there as well, which I'm going to correct. Okay, so as you can see from the structure then on the left hand side, we do have then, you know, the structure of this document. We need to obviously make some changes, add a few pictures and so on, but one of the things we need to do is to again delete the frames or the pages that we don't need here. Okay, so let's, just one thing I should point out to you. If we go into the second and subsequent pages, you'll see that we've automatically got the Act 1, Scene 1 there. And we'll move into this one here, Act 1, Scene 2. So it's automatically picking up that, that information from this title down here. Let's just try one more. So this is page 23 to 36. And once again, we want to use the iBooks author style. And this is going once again into this section. Now, this is quite interesting because we've now made a slight error, because what we've actually done is we brought in this this into the section before we had a chance to create a new act. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create that act. So let's actually do this now. So we're going to insert a chapter from the act. So as you can see, that puts that there, but I'm now going to try to put this, take this page here and put it underneath here. Okay, so this is now going to be Act 2. And as you can see, this is now this should now be scene 1 inside Act 2. And as you can see, we're gradually getting the content in here. We've got some work to do, putting images in and so on. But you can understand now that what we've got is the basic content from InDesign into iBooks Author. So I've done a few more things to this now. In particular, instead of the empty book title, I've put this in up here, Midsummer Night's Dream. I've also, in my metadata, I've put in a little bit more information here, the author and the title of the book. I could put in keywords and further comments. Currently I've disabled the scrolling view. We're going to talk about that in another screencast, how we can get the scrolling view to work, but I've disabled this for the moment. And then finally we just want to add the cover. Now the cover is very particular. The cover needs to be a very specific proportion. We need to make sure that it's at least 1004 pixels vertical and 768 horizontally in 300 dpi. So what I'm going to do is to drag that image that I've already made and plop that down onto here. Now you'll see it's currently too small, but we need to make sure this is the actual size. So I'm now looking at here we are, this is what I'm looking for. I want to just click on original size to make sure that goes up to the original size and then move it into the correct position. So you can see that it's actually 768 points by 1004 points. And it could be bigger, and then you'd need to shrink it down to that proportion, but that's fine as it is at the moment. So I'm now going to export this as the iBooks and just have a quick look at this. And then we'll open it in iBooks. Okay, so it's gone straight away into the introduction. So here's our first page. And we can just move through the text. You see that we've successfully done at least a couple of these glossary items. We've still got more work to do there though. And then this is the first act, scene 1, scene 2. As you can see, this picture, for example, will enlarge up. We can obviously add a caption to that as well. And Act 2, we've still got more work to do here, and you can see that we've also got the thumbnail view along the bottom of the screen here. So we can go straight to one particular act, or otherwise we can view it through this method here. Okay.